welcome to the Path Radio Spotlight. I am your host, Guido Perino, and with me on the show is the lead vocalist of the band that's got it all figured out of Central Illinois, Drew Cagle and The Reputation. Welcome to the Path Radio Spotlight, Drew. How are you?
Not too bad, man. How are you?
I'm great. I got the lead of the baddest band on the planet here, so I'm rocking out, getting to rock out.
Yeah, man.
Look, man,
The
so
baddest the baddest band on the planet on our day off. So got us.
and on your day on, and on your day on. Um, so look, coming out of Central Illinois, but you're on tour right now, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
We just played last night in Nashville, and we're just outside Memphis right now on our way to Huntington, Arkansas.
Huntington, Arkansas. Have you been there before?
No, this will be our first time.
Right on, man. So when you go to a new place, do you take some time to kind of go around the town and check things out or stuff like that?
Yeah, we always try to find whether like a local food place or a local guitar shop or something local to kind of get a feel for the town and the people in it before we do the show. I mean, obviously, sometimes if you get a late night or a far drive, you don't get the luxury of being able to really experience the town. But when we're
Yeah.
fortunate enough to have days off or stuff like that, then we definitely try our best to uh, walk around and meet the people.
Do you um do you pick up any souvenirs along the way?
Honestly, besides broken guitar strings and uh more picks. Those are pretty much the most souvenirs or the stuff we lose the night before at the venue. Those are pretty much the souvenirs we pick up in the new cities. I mean, sometimes I have some fans that are kind enough to bring gifts to us to the
Right.
shows or something like that, and we keep those for sure.
Yeah, that's right on. Yeah, I no, I was talking to some bands before and they're like, yeah, sometimes we pick up a few things along the way. And then by the end of a tour, or however short or long it is, you kind of look and you're like, man, where do we get all this stuff? Like where do we pick all this stuff up? It's like you said, meeting people and through their kindness. So it's good to hear that
Yeah,
kindness still out there, right, Drew?
yeah. I mean, if we picked up something in every city, we probably wouldn't have too much room for all of our band members in the bus by the time we get done with this thing. But
So you just said you finished Nashville, right?
yeah, it was played in Nashville last night.
Well, how was that? What do you think of Nashville?
Well, I have a love-hate relationship with Nashville. I love the people and I love the environment. Um, it's well, I recorded my new record down there. So I recorded at Compass Records down there with the producer from the Eagles and Alice Cooper and Matt Coles
Yeah.
and I just had an incredible experience down there recording that one. So and All Figured Out was recorded in that session. So I would say I've got some of my best memories that I have down there, but then I've also dealt with the music business side of it, which is a little bit like a snake. You're just kind of waiting to get bit every once in a while. So I have a little bit of a love and hate relationship with the city, but uh, I always love visiting it, and always love being immersed in what is the music city of America. So
Yeah, I was gonna say when you think Nashville, you think country, but maybe when you think Nashville, you're gonna think Drew Cagle and the Reputation as they bring some attitude to Nashville in a kind of different way, right? So, um,
hopefully one day.
look, talking about Drew Cagle and the Reputation as an identity, a band name that comes from a personal experience you had on the music scene.
Yeah, when I first got started, and I'm sure when a lot of bands get started, they their original idea is, we want to write music um, that can move people and interact with people and the people enjoy. And usually the idea is mostly based around the concept of you writing it yourself and it being something that you can give to people. Well, when I first got started, I was in a very, very small town in central Illinois, and they weren't really up for the idea to hear music from just the guy who lives down the street. So when that came out, and I was really pushing so hard to try to just play my own music and play songs people haven't heard. Uh, the young me was just very upset and didn't quite understand why nobody had an open mind anymore towards original rock music. And especially, I was playing in a town and in a region um, that just only had cover bands and tribute acts and stuff like that, and didn't have anything that was really real and authentic trying to move people. And so when you are so against the grain, like I naturally am, you tend to form somewhat of a reputation for yourself as someone who doesn't abide by other people's rules. And when that happens, people form their own opinions, and they talk about you behind your back, and they try to bring you down because they don't understand what you're doing and why it's different, and because you don't do it like everybody else. So
Yeah.
when that happened, and I started to realize I'm actually getting a decent amount of like blowback just for me trying to move people with my music. Instead of people just you could just ignore it, but people seem to have gotten upset with it. So man, I just leaned into it, and I was like, well, you want to say I'm all these things? I'm not going to fight you. I'm going to say that I am all of them too, and you're just going to have to come see my show and figure out what's true and what's not. It's going to be that mystery of is he as bad as everyone says? Is his personality off the charts? Does he have this wild ego, or is he a nice guy, or is it actually a good show, or is it terrible music? What is it? What is it? And um, over the time that I spend in the next few years, just touring all across the U.S. and stuff like that, I was able to prove that a lot of those people maybe misjudged me and thought they had me all figured out.
Do you do you feel a bit betrayed by the hometown?
No, not necessarily, because maybe at a time, but when you grow and you look back on things, you know, I'm from a town of about 300-400 people. You know that I was never going to get famous from them, right?
Yeah,
And my goal never ever was to move the people musically in my hometown. It was to touch people all over the world. So with my music, and so the impact radius that I was trying to achieve just didn't match up with the equation in place,
sure.
and and it helped form me into the person I am. So no, there's no bad blood at all, and every once in a while, but once a year or every other year, we get to go back and play in my hometown or Champaign nearby,
Yeah.
and we crowds get bigger and bigger every time. So there's obviously something that's working.
I was gonna say, has the mood changed since you did that? And it sounds like it has.
Yeah, man. It the mood always changes a little bit uh when you try to play your music for somebody and they don't really care, and then a week later you go and you play with Puddle of Mud, or you play with Mr. Big, or you play with LA Guns and
Yeah,
Head East and all these other big huge bands that these people are huge fans of. And then you come back and you say, hey, let me show you this, and they were like, I'm not really into it. And then somebody three bar stools over on the bar says, hey, actually I heard that they played with these guys last week, and they're like, oh, maybe they don't suck. So yeah, no, I think there was definitely a little bit of I just had to go out and prove myself first before
yeah,
people are going to open their minds about it, which I think is a natural thing, and I think every artist should do in the first place, because if you don't take the time to hone your craft and you know pay your dues is very overused, but if you don't learn to fail and learn from it
yeah.
over and over and over again, then you're never going to be able to turn into what you're supposed to be.
Yeah, you feel forward when you're doing that. And it sounds like, you recognize what you had to do and you went out and did it. You talked about that journey that you're out, went out and played music, you go across the Midwest in the US and start doing that for a few years. Um, is there a high and a low when you're doing that?
You know, honestly, I would say right now, I mean, it's weird. 2024 has been the best year and the worst year of my entire life. It's so it's funny how it's funny how it works like that. Every year, if you would ask me a high or a low point, it would always be a different one. You know, anytime I can see that people have truly been impacted by my music is a high point. Um, so as far as I'm concerned, I believe as of right now, the highest point of my career is right now. It's the All Figured Out tour. It's We just released this video and it's done really well and people really are loving it. And I'm seeing, we did some shows in Michigan. We had, you know, people coming to 6 or 7 shows, within a month and a half. And people travel hours and hours to come see us and stuff like that and request songs that we haven't played in years or something like that. So when I see that, that's an obvious high moment for me because that means people really are caring and getting invested. So that's so right now is definitely a high moment. As far as low moments, there's definitely a bunch of those because just you can't have the high moments without the low ones. But I would say anytime that I have to make a decision um, where may lose a band member, those are always low moments for me. I always try to keep everybody on as long as I can. But since it's my band, and I hire all the members, and sometimes when things evolve and people leave, or someone that's been with you a long time, wants to start a family instead of being on the road. I mean, those are low moments because your heart breaks for the relationship you had with people like that. But when it naturally comes, you keep moving forward, and it this train doesn't stop just because of one person leaving, and that's as sad as it is. It can't ever. Otherwise, then rock music suffers for it.
But it's nice to know that rock music also has a heart in Drew Cagle, as you talk about that. Um, Drew, you mentioned some other band names, notable names that you've played alongside: Warrant, Mr. Big, Striper, Living Color, LA Guns. It goes on and on and on. Um, what makes Drew Cagle and the Reputation complement that lineup, or that variety of acts? And how does the band that leaves, and goes on the road and feels a little bit rejected by their hometown start doing that?
Yeah, obviously, like I said, it's a whole process. But I think the thing, when I started this whole thing, I wanted to create music that um, sounded like it was made by your favorite band. You just missed that album, or sounded like we were the biggest band out of the '70s and '80s that just nobody heard. I wanted to sound, you know, real and authentic and fresh, and also remind people of the danger and energy that can really be put into music that just hasn't quite been there recently. And we have a very wide variety of songs. I'm a songwriter first. It's not, as far as I'm concerned, we're not just solely living in rock and roll. I'm influenced by so many different genres, and every song I've ever heard, I've tried to figure out something that I could be influenced by, or something that's unique about it, or something that's cool that I could learn from. And when you do that and you craft your music around that, then it gets really easy to fit in with a lot of different genres. I'm this stuff I write, it's very straightforward songs that are, from the heart. I'm not talking about trying to sleep with a bunch of women and doing a bunch of drugs and stuff like that. I'm talking about real experiences and real feelings and stuff that you relate to. I'm not trying to be a flashy rock star or anything like that. I'm trying to um keep something special and into rock and roll, which is the authenticity and the mystery and the danger and the adrenaline that should go through it. But I mean, the songs I write are are from the heart. So if you write songs from the heart and you build it around there, you should be able to fit in with any band, especially ones that are notable names, because that's what they did and that's what made them successful. Because if you don't write a song from your heart, then you're never going to be able to connect with another person's heart. So all those bands that you listed and so many more bands we
Yeah.
played for have done that to a perfect T. So I've pretty much kept that in my mind whenever it comes to doing stuff like that with them.
You know, as I'm listening to you, I can see why your new release, All Figured Out, is what is called what it's called, because it sounds like you really do have it all figured out, man. Um, do you have a, with all those, you know, rock and roll bands that everybody loves that you're touring with as well, do you have a memory that sticks out in your mind, one more than the other, or is it just one big awesome thrill?
Oh man, I could fill your entire show about three times over with cool stories from all these rock stars. Um, I'll go through a few of them real quick, but I
Yeah,
can't. I don't want to take up too much time from it.
yeah,
I'll just stick from the ones from this year, because I can't go too far back. The one of the one of the most coolest experiences I ever got. And this was earlier this year. We played with Artemis Pyle, who's the last surviving member of Ronnie Van Zant's Leonard Skinner.
yep.
Um, and he's like 77 or 78, and we played a show, and I stood side stage the whole time. I mean, within 5 feet of him, watching him, and he played everything exactly like the record, and was just incredible. And then we ended the show, and he came out, and we both sat next to each other at our merch tables for 3 hours, meeting every single fan, shaking their hands, talking with them for 5 minutes. We were drinking and taking shots or whatever to the memory of Ronnie Van Zant, and uh, we were there so long that the venue ended up kicking us out. The venue ended up closing down. We were like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. We're like, yeah, we probably should get on the road. We both gotta get out of here. So that one was awesome, because the first concert I ever went to was Leonard Skinner. So to do that with him uh, was just a larger than life experience.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then when this tour kicked off, we got to play with Mr. Big, and they couldn't have been cooler. I mean, when this band first started, "To Be With You" was like the first song we ever played as a band, because we hadn't have any songs written, and it was just a bunch of guys. And we're like, well, what do you know? I don't know. What do you know? And the only song we all knew together was "To Be With You" by Mr. Big. So we played it like 5 or 6 times, or 10, or for at least for a few hours, over and over and over again. Just just because we wanted to jam, and that was the song. And so I got to tell that to Eric Martin, the singer, and he thought that was really cool. And we got to hang out with Billy Sheehan and Paul Gilbert, and they just hung out with us the whole night after the show was done. Gave us rig rundowns on all their gear, told us funny stories from the road, and that stuff was always great. And and we had a great 3 show run with Striper too, where uh, I mean, they showed us their entire new record before it came out, and still not out yet, and it's incredible. And we just sat there hanging out the whole night and just talking music, our favorite bands and stuff like that. Those ones are always great.
Yeah.
Like those 3 bands I just listed there are probably the top 3 or 4 coolest bands that we've got to share the stage with. As in, they just make us feel like we're a part of the show, and that we really add something to the show, and they want us to be there. And they've all expressed their opinions and feelings to want to have us come back and play with them. And that's what makes it special to young rockers like us.
Yeah. Right on. And listen, congratulations for that. And thanks for sharing those stories. And kudos to those bands and the others that you know, are making a difference and playing with us and playing with you guys and giving us some great moments as well. Listen, talking about special
Yeah.
moment, something special. On October 31st, 2021, you released your 8-song EP, Haunted. Very well received across the music and streaming community. 3 years removed from that, We didn't see more immediate new material released, but it sounds like you've done writing. Was there hesitation at the time, or how come you didn't have a something more immediate followed up to gain the momentum from that EP?
That's a great question. I would say, yeah, there was definitely a hesitation there. If you listen to the Haunted EP, it's very much like a basement recording, and like every dreamer, you record your first record, somewhere on the most budget that you have, and when it comes out, and it doesn't blow up immediately, you're like, why did my song, don't people love me, what, why didn't this thing blow up the way it was supposed to? And we didn't really have, we I had a little bit of that. I didn't really have the greatest experience when it came to being in the recording sessions, just because I personally prefer to just do live shows, and that's just where have always felt the most comfortable. And I was going through a few different backing bands at the time, um, and I just really didn't have much time
Mm.
to do it, because I was just so aggressively touring this new, or the Haunted record, and all that material. And we spent a long time playing those sets over and over again. And while we were doing that, we were trying out a lot of new material. It wasn't like we were just playing those 8 songs over and over again. um I was playing those songs for a few years before the Haunted record even came out. So then, as we started to go on further after the release of it, we were definitely adding a bunch of new music, a lot of the new stuff that's on the new record, except for All Figured Out. And so we toured a lot of that stuff, and that was kind of where I figured out the songs that needed to be on this new record. I wanted to woodshed it a little bit more and try out a bunch of new music and a bunch of different styles in front of so many different crowds over this, in so many different areas over all that period of time, to figure out what songs every single time elicit a reaction from
Yeah.
people, and figure out, okay, well, what are the best 8 songs I can take from this whole thing and put it on this record. Because I wanted something that really packed a punch, was powerful, and could mean something to people. So when I got to the point that I felt I had, 8 undeniable songs, that I was like, okay, well, then it's time to re-record, or to record something, and we're gonna do it the right way this time. We're gonna go down to Nashville. We're gonna record it, at Compass Records, and we're gonna use a bunch of studio musicians, that have played with Toto and Elton John and Post Malone and Taylor Swift and Kenny Chesney and all these people that they have all number ones and have Grammys with. And I was like, well, they know what they're doing. I need to go work with these people that are the absolute top of the line. Uh, and I got exactly what I wanted out of that.
Yeah, and Drew, as you're saying all that, and I come to the instant realization, I suppose, sometimes in the world we live in today, with the way music is created and distributed, and the from the creation to the distribution, uh, you know, sometimes we expect things a lot faster, and we don't take
Oh,
the time to absorb and enjoy what we've got, right?
oh yeah. It
So,
it takes it takes forever, man.
yeah,
Like, for example, I mean, the majority of the songs uh, off the new record that's going to be coming out, I mean, they've been written for at least 2 years.
yeah, that's wild.
Um, and I already have album 3 and 4 finished, as far as songwriting goes. They're not recorded yet, but I have plenty and plenty more material to be done, or to be ready to be recorded. But it's just a matter of seeing, um, just letting the story play out, and letting each puzzle get laid down at the right time when it's supposed to be, so we can build on it. Um, the thing that's the craziest about this whole thing is, when you write a song, is when you're the most connected to the song. It's the most raw emotional feeling it'll ever be. So when you write a song, you immediately want, that's when you want to show it to people. But you can't ever do that, because it's got to be crafted and formed and turned into this more polished thing over time. And then the thing that's sad about it is, the longer it goes, the less you feel emotionally connected to where the song you were in that moment.
Yeah.
Um, and when you get to a situation kind of like how I'm in, where it's like, uh, these songs were written 2 years ago, right? So then
Yeah.
we record then we have to go back into the studio, and then I have to really get myself in the mindset that I was 2 years, like 2 years ago, a much younger me, much more naive, much more angry. You know, you have to get into that mindset and pretty much play that part when it comes to recording it. And then every single night when that song comes up on your set list, you have to go take yourself back into that place mentally, um, to perform it the correct. I mean, to perform it the correct way. You could phone it in and just sing the song, but
Right.
the to elicit the emotion, you have to bring the emotion out of yourself that you had when you first wrote it. And the longer it takes, from the initial time where you wrote the song to every single day where you perform it after, that emotion gets harder and harder to tap into, because it's like a different person. So the thing that I get from me a lot that's hard, that I guess that I struggle with, is, you know, I have all some songs that are just so more how I feel, at a certain point in time in my life, that I want to play, but I can't do that quite yet. Or I'll still do it every once in a while, but I can't play, 6 new songs that are, hey man, this is what I'm going through right now, because I'm still telling you what I went through 2, 3 years ago. And so that's the predicament as a songwriter and a creator when it comes into, uh, hesitation and
Yeah.
these plannings for all this stuff.
This everything you just said, like for the listeners, this is a real treat. It is just so raw and authentic what you just said. I mean, you're really reflecting the journey of the artist when you're talking about, I just can't mail it in. I need to live that song for you. I need to perform because that's how I wrote it and that's who I want to be on the stage for you when I give you that.
Yeah.
Um, you give me a little bit of rock and roll chills there on the arm as you're saying that because listen, it's rare that we get a performer who's gives us that space, right? Usually you're all very protected in terms of the things you do and how you do them and things like that. So in this rare instance we get, like I said, we get the voice of an artist. And look, you talked about listening some of the emotions that you have in your music and in your song, and there's something where you said, I think, your version of music is considered attitude rock. What does attitude rock mean in 2024, Drew?
That's also another great question. I guess it means just what it says. I mean, it's putting the attitude, the aggression, the danger back into rock. When you listen to rock music now, uh, you can rather listen to classic rock, which is the same thing you've been listening to forever,
Yeah,
or which is played primarily on the radio and in all mainstream forms. Or if you dig into some of these new artists that all seem to claim that they're saving rock and roll and reviving it all on their own, um, they all give you this very polished, cookie cutter TikTok version of rock and roll, where it's all behind the scenes clips, and everything they tell you is about some goofy story that has nothing to do with, um, playing rock and roll that moves people. And when it comes down to it, the attitude rock, rock and roll is meant to be authentic. It is meant to be dangerous. It is meant to be mysterious. It is meant to energize, and it's meant to, um, well, it is. I think it's undoubtedly the top genre for the expression of anger. Uh, and and when it comes to what we're talking about here, especially with this new, all figured out, and the feeling of, um, people judging you, before even knowing you, or, hearing you out, and then, just, having that chip on your shoulder, I got to prove you wrong kind of feeling. I mean, that's what rock and roll is founded out of. And that's what I'm trying to show people, that it's still achievable to get to without, you know, being trying to be some sort of, you know, trying to be some sort of David Lee Roth spinoff
Yeah,
where you think it's just all about dyeing your hair blonde and and snorting up everything you can find. You know, it
yeah,
I the stuff I attitude rock is meant to just help people, I guess, understand that there's danger left in rock and roll, and there's stuff that um well that the greatest rock songs haven't already
yeah,
been written, and people you can see a lot of, even the main target audiences of rock and roll have even phoned in, trying to find new music and new bands. And when you tell them, hey, this genre isn't dead, and then they say it's not dead, or they say it is, and they say all this other BS. When it comes down to it, if there's still rock music out there that can move you or make you feel something or energize you, or uh, make you relate to it, and you haven't heard the song, or you don't know the song in the first place, um, then the genre is not dead. And everyone has got somebody that pisses them off at some point in time, and or somebody who you know thinks that they have you all figured out, right? That everyone has that
yeah,
boss or that person who thinks you're no good or something like that. And every single time, you bite your tongue, you don't say something back, or you do say something back, but there is that feeling that people have, and that's what All Figured Out's about. Um it's about being an anthem for those type of people who whether don't speak up for themselves yet, or to give them the courage to speak up for themselves.
so tapping into some roots with attitude rock, but modernizing it. How much attitude rock on a scale of 1 to 10 does All Figured Out
That's the maximum amount. Can I,
have?
yeah, can the amplifier go to 11? Yeah, pretty much.
Crank it up.
Pretty much.
Crank it up.
Yeah, I'd say I'd say the it's definitely a 10.
All
uh,
right.
this whole new record is based entirely around attitude, and um, this song is the first song on the record, so it sets the tone for what is coming. And when you are setting the gate, or when you're coming out the gate and telling them, "Hey, we're the baddest band on the planet, and this is our own style of attitude rock, and we're gonna come and we're gonna pull no punches, and you are going to we're pretty much we're gonna hit you in the face hard with real, balls to the wall rock and roll." When you tell people that, you got to open strong. And so when you listen to attitude, or when you listen to All Figured Out, you can definitely feel the attitude in it, and you can definitely feel all those feelings I was talking about earlier, the danger and
Is it
this energy that's like contained, but it might fall off the rails. You know, it's this nice mix of is this thing going to blow up, or is there, how there's so much energy packed into these recordings that you just don't know what's going to happen, and that's what makes it fun for me.
you get me pumped to come to the show, but if I was coming to the show and maybe you don't want to tell us, maybe this is a secret or something to we have to find out when we come. Is All Figured Out the set opener or do we have to come to the show to find out?
So I'll say this: I like to change up my sets a lot.
Oh, right on.
However, the set opener for the All Figured Out tour is not All Figured Out.
Oh,
It maybe one day. Um, it definitely could be. I feel like that's a perfect place for this song. Um, it would be great to kick off the show with it. But as of right now, we've been kicking it off with another song that's actually off the record, uh, called "Bad Attitude." And so when we kick off with that song, and All Figured Out makes an appearance a little bit later on the set.
right on. And we got some exclusive and tidbits there. Drew, are the hat and the shade, are they part of the attitude and are they a staple of attire moving forward?
Yeah, so I kind of I introduced the hat and sunglasses when we did Haunted. I wanted the concept of that I was trying to do is I was trying to create a character that was rooted in uh, mystery, and when the concept of Haunted is different than the concept of All Figured Out and the new stuff. I was that record was very much primarily based around um, the concept of dealing with past regrets and uh, how you get through them. And so I wanted to create a darker persona to go with that that matched those feelings that I'd felt and would help put together the show better for the fans to where they would understand what I was trying to do. Um, as that goes on, All Figured Out is pretty much the response to the Haunted record.
Mm.
So it is pretty much the same character just growing into a new place. And as of right now, they've the hat and sunglasses have definitely been a staple of the shows, and I'm sure um, even after this character, this persona fades into uh, the history books of DCNR, and we bring out a new a new era, a new feeling when we come to record 3 or whatever. I'm sure the hat and sunglasses will still find a way to keep themselves into the show somehow because um, like I said, the mystery um, is so lost in rock and roll these days. And if you don't have something that makes people wonder, then you have nothing um, when it comes to rock and roll. So yeah, that will stay in there for a while. I mean, we get people at shows. I mean, every single show. Well, I go out and I like to meet the fans and stuff at the merch tables and stuff, and shake everybody's hand. And every single show, I get people that offer to pay me money to take my sunglasses off or try to wear my hat or something. And it never works. I never let them do it, but I definitely get a lot of those requests. So that tells me even more that
Yeah.
it's working to this element of mystery that people want to know more about me and more about this and what we do. And the less you give them, the more they want. So
Are there on the merch table, are there shades like that on the merch table?
there will be soon,
Oh
but
wow.
there that we don't have them yet.
Awesome. I feel like I tapped into something there. So cool. Well, we'll look forward to that. Um, Look, earlier you mentioned, all figured out. You had a lot of heavy hitters there: Matt Coles, Eagles, Alice Cooper, mastered by True East Mastering. You got
Yeah,
Alabama and Robert Plant. And you kind of alluded to they bring something to your music. What is that thing that they bring to your music and that you can share?
yeah. I mean, man, these are the best at what they do. So when you get to work with people that are so versatile in what they do and so kind and so easy to work with, um, they bring the ability to have for me to have no limits on my creative vision. And if I can have no limits on my creative vision, then um, I mean that's Disneyland for any sort of artist. So when I'm able to walk into a room and the greatest musicians in the world are sitting there and say, "What do you want us to do?" and how can we make your songs sound good and great and how can we make them better and uh and they sit there and every single thing I say they do it to a T. They don't talk back, they don't ask questions, they say this is how we're going to do it. All right. They'll throw in some ideas here and there and we'll go with them or we don't. And it's a collaborative process, and when you get to do that with some of the best in the world, there's no uh, I can't even put into words truthfully what they do for my songs and what they bring to the table. They bring something that I've never felt before, but I know I never want it to leave.
We're happy they're there, and we're looking forward to more stuff if you continue to work with them. But you're also working with a bunch of other musicians that have it all figured out with you. Shannon Forrest on drums, band reference Toto, Soul, Phil Cox on guitar, band reference Luke Combs, Sam Hunter on guitar, band reference Willie Nelson, Craig Young on bass, band reference Elton John. They all
Yeah,
come from like a diverse playing experience. How do you bring this group together to create the sound that is Drew Cagle and the Reputation on this song? What works so well with you guys?
I'll tell you what, ultimately the glue that keeps it all together is Matt Coles, my producer. He found all the guys and he said, I know these guys and they will kill it on your record, and these are who you have to get. And uh, he's the man, and he helped. Sometimes when you have a creative vision, you can't say exactly what you're trying to say the correct way to them. And so I was able to pretty much go over and make weird sounds to Matt and tell him I want this to happen and this to happen, but I didn't quite know how to tell the guys. And he was like, "Oh, I got you." And then he would turn around and tell it to them immediately, and then they go play it perfectly. So he was definitely the glue that kept the whole thing together. But when it comes down to what makes it all mix so well is these guys, they're Nashville studio musicians, so they sit there and they play on all these records down there in Nashville. So many people than the people that you named, and you know uh, that can get you can get jaded in any job, and you never want to go into work and that just be, hey, it's another day, playing the same songs, right? And so when a young 23-year-old rocker comes in and tells them they don't have to play country songs or whatever, and tells them you can turn up the amplifiers a little bit more and you can hit the drums a little bit harder, and you can you can just feel free to rock out and really get the energy up, man. There's that excites them, and it was really cool to see that, because when I walk in there and uh, they knew what was going on, but just to be able to tell them, hey, I don't want you to just be a backbeat. I don't want you to just be the background for my voice. I want this to sound like the baddest rock band on the planet. I want this to sound like something that you can feel, and that you'll feel just as much 30 years from now as you did would have felt 30 years before now. Um, and when you go in there and tell them, I know you guys are the best in the world, now show me why you're the best in the world, and they come in and just get energized by the fact that they get to play the rock music that they grew up on, um, and create it in an environment they don't really get as often as they get so many of the Nashville stuff. I mean, when it comes to studio sessions, the most important element is passion. And if everyone is passionate and into the project from the second you start, to the second the songs are all finished, then there will be some magic created. So, especially with those guys, and that's what we did.
Sounds like you gave them musical freedom and they just embraced it and you guys all found your niche together.
Yeah.
Drew, you mentioned the new album a few times, some of the new songs. Is this going to be a slow release, like single after single, or are you going to give us the whole album, or and when, if you can tell us, or
So it's definitely gonna be a slower release. It's gonna be a few singles at a time. Um, you can probably expect a new one coming out here soon, probably in the next couple months. Um, I don't know which one it will be yet, so I can't give you a specific song.
okay?
Primarily, what we were planning on doing was, running this whole 3-month tour. Um, we shot the music video for All Figured Out, and we wanted to see just how people would respond to All Figured Out first, and then kind of reassess and then figure out the exact way to uh, give them the next piece of the story and the next chapter of this album. And and we've been overwhelmed by how much people have loved it. So we're definitely already in the process of getting ready to figure out how to give you guys the uh, next single, because I would hate to have you guys sit here wanting to know what's next and not get it. So that's definitely we will definitely have a new single on the horizon pretty soon. As far as the album release date, uh, I don't know yet. I think we'll probably do a couple singles first, and then maybe give you an album either at the end of this year or early next year. I don't want to. I don't want to rush this one too much. I
Yep.
this one spent we spent a lot of time making sure everything was perfect on this, and um, I just want to make sure that every, every step along the way, my vision can be seen clearly from someone um, who is hearing it for the first time. So as long as I can figure out a way to give this to new fans and to our fans in a fresh way that is still intriguing and keeps them invested in the story I'm trying to tell with this new record, um, then hopefully it'll get it where we're trying to go, huh?
Well, we're gonna stay subscribed to your channel so that we get, we get the notification when the stuff comes out, and we're
Yeah,
gonna look forward to that. Speaking of socials, drewcagle.com, great looking site. You got a lot of stuff there. Is that where fans connect with you for their best bang for their time, or the best place to pick up your music, or do you have another preference where you say, "Hey, come see me over here"?
yeah. Well, I mean, everything you could possibly want, Drew Cagle related, is at drewcagle.com. We got merch, we got all the tour dates, we got some photos and stuff, we got the new music video, and we got links to streaming all on that. But to be most engaged with the band and to follow the story and see about what goes on the road and uh how the shows are going and stuff like that. Facebook and Instagram are great too because we post a lot of recaps from our shows with a lot of these big bands like Mr. Big and LA Guns and stuff like that. And we post stuff with the crowds and this us performing at those shows. And if you're invested in what we're doing and you like these songs, then I would definitely recommend following us on Facebook or Instagram because that way we post like crazy to remind you that when we're coming to your city, and you get to kind of be join us and be along for the ride with us as we get to tour, even if you're too far away to see us live or just want to be on the journey with us.
And if folks are wondering, if you go to drewcagle.com, and I'll have how that's spelled out in the show notes, there's the link to the Insta and to the Facebook and all those things. So we'll make sure that everybody has that. Look, man, I started the show and you said you're on tour. I've taken you considerably over the amount of time that you agreed to be here. So I know I gotta let you go and to get back to your stuff and the band and the music. Is there anything else you'd like to leave us with, Drew?
uh Not really, man. I'm grateful that you had us on. Don't worry too much about having us go over and stuff. I threw the band in a Mexican restaurant, so they're in there eating while I'm hanging out in the van. So
Oh no, I'm starving. I've starved Drew.
yeah, that's
All
a
right,
new
well,
meaning to starving artist, huh?
look, folks, that's Drew Cagle. He's got to go eat, but he's playing out his Fate of the Outlaw, who's come back into the light with his band, The Reputation, as they bring their off the wall attitude rock music to us with new music and a reason to rock. I'll have his socials in the show notes so you can tap into the sights and sounds of the band. And of course, you'll hear their new single on thepathradio.com. Drew, thanks for coming on the show. I wish you the best, and I hope that we'll catch up real soon.
Thank you so much, man. That was a great outro.
Thanks.